Hi everybody, it's Alex again from Pink Heart Rescue, and I'm going to be talking with you guys a little bit about some myths about double Merles today. So originally, when we were thinking that this YouTube channel was going to launch way earlier, this was supposed to be our Deaf Dog Awareness Week video, and unfortunately we didn't get to it in time, so we're going to be reading about it today. But this is going to be a bunch of myths that a lot of people think about double Merle dogs, and we're going to be kind of debunking those myths today to educate people more on double Merles. So we'll just get right into it. The first myth that we hear a lot of times is albino, lethal white, double Merle, all the same thing, all the same gene, right? Well, not the case. So dogs with two copies of the double Merle or of the Merle gene are called double Merles, which we talked about in our last video. This comes when two Merle dogs are bred together. Each puppy has about a 25% chance of being born blind or deaf because of carrying the double Merle gene. Oftentimes people confuse them with other names. So the first one we hear a lot is people will come up to us and see our dogs and say, "Oh, is that dog albino?" No, they are not albino. Albinism is actually a totally different gene, totally different than double Merle. It does work somewhat similarly because it does bleach the pigment, which can cause vision impairment, but it is a totally different gene from a double Merle. We also hear the term lethal white being thrown around a lot. Lethal white is actually a term for painted horses that are born with no pigment whatsoever. They will have blue eyes most of the time and an incomplete digestive tract. So these horses die shortly after birth. They are just not compatible with life because of that gene that they carry. Calling a double Merle a lethal white can be misleading because it implies that they are incompatible with life and they cannot live a full, happy life as a pet. Well, this is not true. This term was most likely originally used by breeders, like especially breeders that maybe had horses as well as bred dogs, because they would often cull, or in other words, put down the puppies that were born double Merle because they just didn't know any better. And so to them, it was the same as being as a lethal white because they would put them down so they wouldn't live past their a few days past birth. But now we know that these double Merle dogs are not affected in the same way as lethal white horses are, and they can go on to live full, happy lives. The next myth that we hear is double Merles have more health issues than regular dogs. This is false, kind of. Double Merle gene does not cause any other health issues besides hearing and eyesight problems. So those are the only two issues that the double Merle gene is directly correlated with. From impaired to all the way completely blind or deaf, but that is it. But usually the people who are breeding double Merles are irresponsible backyard breeders or puppy mills. Because of this, the dogs that are being bred are generally not health tested. So the parents of these puppies are not being health tested. They do not know if they are healthy dogs or not. Sometimes they can even be siblings, or it can be an inbreeding type issue where the two dogs shouldn't be being bred anyway. The parents of these puppies are also not being provided the proper prenatal health care, or being seen by a vet before, during, and after being bred, and they are generally just not off to the best start of life. Usually these puppy mill dogs and puppy mill puppies are being born, or backyard breeder puppies even, are being born outside in kiddie pools or in small cages, are very under socialized, very not exposed to things that they shouldn't be being exposed to at that age. All of these things can cause behavioral and health issues, such as allergies, hip dysplasia, seizure disorders, fear, aggression, heart problems, anxiety, etc. The list goes on and on. But all of these things are caused by bad breeding, not necessarily the double Merle gene. So we don't want people to be afraid when they see, "Oh, I don't want to adopt a double Merle dog because it might have all these health issues." Double Merle dogs are no more likely to have health issues than any other backyard bred or puppy mill bred rescue dog that you're getting from the shelter. Another myth that we hear is that double Merle dogs are more aggressive or startle more easily than a regular dog. This is actually quite the contrary. One study that I saw from a university even said that deaf dogs are less likely to startle than hearing dogs, especially double Merle dogs, because they were actually born blind or born deaf. They are used to it. A dog that goes blind over time, or like a dog that's just not used to being startled, is much more likely to startle than a dog that's blind or deaf that has been literally having its startle reflex triggered since it was a puppy. The biggest thing is to make those situations, and this is with any dog, make those situations positive. If the dog startles, puppies startle all the time, and when they do startle, we need to explain to them in a positive way. Oh, what's that? What did that do? What is that? Oh, look at this, it's a ball. And show them that it's not scary, it's not something bad. But if you let a dog startle and then smack it because it startled, then they're going to start associating being startled with something negative. So because double Merle dogs do from a younger age have the opportunity to be startled more frequently because of their vision or their hearing issues, and as long as you are kind in taking care of your dog properly, it actually should have less of a startle reflex as it gets older, and it should definitely not associate that startle reflex with aggression. And like I said, training and positive association is what is important, and that is going to be what reduces that startle reflex or aggression response. Not just the fact that they're double Merle, that's not going to increase it. A couple other little myths that we've heard are that either deaf dogs don't bark or deaf dogs bark all the time. So this is not like a myth as much as it's like it's not concrete either way. So some deaf dogs bark all the time because they don't know they're making any noise and they just want to talk and they just talk. It's really funny because when deaf dogs bark, they can't hear themselves, so they're either usually kind of muted and quiet, or they're usually really, really loud. But then other double Merle dogs tend to not bark as much because they can't hear themselves, so it doesn't matter to them. But barking is something that is instinctual for dogs. It's common for dogs. It's what dogs do. They bark. So they are probably going to bark just as much as any other dog would. If you adopt a dog that is more like a breed that is more barky of a breed, for example, like my sweet little Yorkie Izzy that I have, she barks constantly. She never stops. So knowing what breed you're getting into is way more important as far as barking goes than if it's double Merle or not. Some other things that we get questions about a lot are things like, does the double Merle dog like not bond with you, I guess, as easily because it can't hear your voice? This is something that I feel very strongly about, and it is actually the exact opposite. Double Merle dogs bond with you, I believe, more strongly because they are constantly looking at you, checking in with you to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, or that there isn't anything that they need to be aware of. So as long as you work with your dog and work on training your dog like you should, again, any dog that hears or doesn't hear, sees or doesn't see, the dog is going to bond with you, and especially, like I said, with the double Merle dogs, because they're constantly checking in with you because they have to look at you to see. I feel like that the bond is even tighter between a double Merle dog and its owner than a regular dog and its owner. Regular dogs tend to go out and like they're running around, and they don't really care about you because they're like, if they need me, they'll call me. But a double Merle dog is like, okay, I gotta pay attention to my owner because if they need me, I have to be watching. So I think that that's something cool, like especially like if you want to compete in agility, like that's something that's awesome for double Merle dogs because it's a lot of directional pointing of going to this jump or this tunnel, then going to this one. So it's a cool thing that you can do, and that's like one of the big things and the biggest myth I think in what we try to explain to people is that double Merle dogs can't do what other dogs can do. In my opinion, a double Merle dog can do anything that a regular dog can do. It just depends on the individual dog, and if that dog has the drive, the temperament, the whatever to do it. If you want your double Merle dog to be a therapy dog, absolutely. If you want your double Merle dog to be an agility dog, go for it. These are dogs, they want to do the same things that other dogs want to do. They want to go outside and play with the tennis ball. They want to go run around. They want to cuddle with you. They're just a dog. That's it. And they don't know that they're blind or deaf. They think that they were born the way they were supposed to be. So it's our responsibility to set them up for success, give them the training, the support that they need to live their lives to the fullest life that we know now that they have the potential to live. So if you guys have any other Double Merle myths that you have heard of, drop them in the comments below. That way you guys can kind of discuss and talk about some of those myths that you have heard, and kind of bust them open for us down there in the comments. So again, thank you so much for tuning into our YouTube video for Pink Heart Rescue. My name is Alex, and we will see you next time. Thanks.